What's up, YouTube? This is Joel with True Life Investing. Got a lot of stimulus updates for you, especially when it comes in terms to those $1,400 checks and maybe potentially monthly payments, but there's actually going to be three parts to this video. So if you remember, we have the timestamps down in the description, so if you want to jump to one of these subjects, you can jump straight to it and then go and be on your way. So first things first is we're going to talk about the new stimulus news, any updates that's going along with that, as well as getting the words verbatim from what people are saying about the stimulus in terms of the ones who are in charge when it comes to like the president and Nancy Pelosi, and then what some of the other representatives are saying. Second thing that we're going to talk about is we're going to go over what Jerome Powell said in terms of the economy and what stimulus could do for the economy, and then the interest rates and how it's working with the Federal Reserve. And the last thing that we're going to talk about is actually going over what President Biden has been doing in terms of his executive orders. And I'm actually going to bring to you the facts of what's actually happening so that you're not hearing any of these fake news in terms of like some of what's going on right now. So don't forget, if you want to hit that subscribe button and stay up to date with the channel, go ahead and do that. And then if you like the video at the end, you can like the video and then comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know your opinion on some of these matters. And then remember, guys, there's a lot going on and we need to stay up to date with what matters, because it does matter, so that you know what, whenever something that goes on that you don't like, the next time that voting comes around, you can make sure your voice is being heard by voting for however you feel for the person who represents what you want. And so we're going to be bringing all this information, but we're going to go ahead and get right to it. First things first, the Biden administration said on Thursday that they are ruling out splitting this $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief plan into two pieces, or even piecemealing it. This is something that it heightens the odds that the Democrats would pass their package through a party line majority vote using the reconciliation. So there's no reason for them to piecemeal it. So one of the things that Press Secretary Psaki said at the press conference verbatim is, "I just want to take the opportunity and be crystal clear. We're not looking to split the package. This is not a proposal from the White House. This is not where our focus is at or where our intention is at." So with her saying that, this is something that they don't want to try to force lawmakers to prioritize one measure over the other, you know, in terms of like getting kids back to school or providing extra federal help to families, you know, that are struggling to pay for food or rent, or, you know, the vaccine distribution. They want to get a whole package that's one piece all together, get it done in one swoop. So with this, she says that we're not going to piecemeal this or break it apart in any way. That's not what this is meant for. They want to address the crisis at hand and move this forward. So this is where we can expect that the Democrats, they have the power. They you know, even though bipartisan talks are you know, continuing to happen, the Democrats have set the stage. They have kickstarted their reconciliation process, so that'll happen next week. Even House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Democrats in her chamber were preparing to vote on this resolution. And this is the first step in the process. And with her saying that by the end of the week, they're going to be finished with this budget resolution, you know, in terms of the budget reconciliation, that's something that they're going to go ahead and put in their corner. And even the Senate is expected to vote on kind of the same thing in that same time frame. So this is big news. You know, this is something that the Democrats are showing that, look, whether we get the support from the Republicans or the GOP or not, we're going to move forward. We're going to get relief to people. So one of the other big news is that there's more than actually 50 House members who co-signed a letter going to President Joe Biden that said, hey, we want, you know, there to be reoccurring payments to Americans. Because there's people that, the ones that do get it, they immediately spend it because they have to, because they're not making enough, because they're living in poverty. And it was actually Ian Omar and 55 other people that are trying to push for $2,000 checks to be going to people to help them out during this pandemic. So when you think about it, there's actually 435 representatives in the House. So I mean, at least she got 10%. But if this continues to grow and she gets more support, then this could be something that comes up and gets added to the bill. Is it going to happen? We don't know, but we do know that when you've got, at least that many people pushing for it, you know what they're going to be doing? They're going to be calling people up. They're going to be trying to get this going, and they're going to be trying to push for those $2,000 monthly stimulus checks. So we'll see what happens with that. But one of the things when we look at what is it going to take to pass this in the Senate, all it's going to take is for the 50 Democrats to support this reconciliation process with Vice President Kamala Harris holding the tie-breaking vote in the chamber. And when you think about what's all in this stimulus package, you're talking about $1.9 trillion. You got stimulus checks is what you've been hearing about, enhanced unemployment insurance, larger child tax credits, assistance to state and local governments. But this is something that there's a lot more than what we've been hearing. But whenever they come out with that text, I'm going to bring it on the channel so I can keep you up to date. But so if we look at what's actually going on and we look at what people are reporting on, the Labor Department actually reported that 847,000 people filed for unemployment claims last week. I couldn't imagine, being in one of that group. So, I mean, it's hard. They said that this even at this level, it outpaces the worst of what happened during the 2008 Great Recession. And so you got people like Senator Richard Blumenthal who said, we have to do it all together. It's all going to fit together. But at the same time, I have zero tolerance for delay. And there's more people that are backing that. And so you got even people like Representative Ro Khanna, who said that in an interview talking about Biden's proposal that, look, Democrats have a strong opening bid. We don't want it weakened by any, we don't want to weaken it, to just get GOP votes, that whatever they're going to do, they plan to do it, and whether the GOP or the, Republicans support it or not. So then you got to think of, okay, you've got a ton of people talking, but there's also two new people talking. Those people from Georgia that went off in that runoff race, that, names by the Ossoff and Warnock, who literally won a big part of their constituents by saying, hey, we're going to promise to deliver $2,000 stimulus checks, and we're going to get you those. And even President Biden said, I'm going to say that same pledge, I'm going to make that same promise, and we're going to get you $2,000 stimulus checks. So some people are like, hey, I got $600. You tell me you're going to give me $1,400. You're breaking it apart. Are you going to give me this? We want $2,000 stimulus checks. So this is something that, people are trying to hold them accountable. But there's a lot of support behind the stimulus checks, whether they're $1,400 or $2,000. There's still a lot to talk about, but we do know that they do have something in the mix, and we're going to see some stuff next week and by the end of this week. So what are Republicans saying? Because guess what? Half of the Senate and almost half of the House are Republicans. What they're saying is they're trying to break apart this bill, and say, hey, we're going to put it more focused. We're going to get people, let's get some vaccines to people. Let's do the stimulus checks and trying to, lower it down from the $1.9 trillion that it is. But you know what the Democrats are saying? Nope, not happening. They said, we're going to get the full package. We're not going to compromise. It's coming from the presidency. It's coming from the House, and it's coming from the Senate. And they can do it. There's ways for them to get this passed without the Republicans' votes. So we'll see what happens with that. But one of the things that they said is that, in addition to this new round of stimulus checks, that there's these unemployment benefits, that are expected to expire by mid-March. They've got to go ahead and start preparing something now and not just wait until it's the last minute to try to pass something. So that's where we can expect that, okay, within this next 3 to 4 weeks, we're going to get something passed. And so there's a ton of, you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars that are going to schools, vaccines, the healthcare system. So we definitely know that the Democrats have said they are determined to move ahead. They want to get the relief package to people. They want to help the economy out. And even though there might be some stuff in there that may not be directly towards the economy, this is what always happens, y'all. We can't, work around it. There's going to be either whether it's the Democrats or whether it's the Republicans, they're going to try to put more stuff in there that goes for their agenda and their constituents. So we'll see what happens, and then we'll go from there and make your decision on how you feel about what's going on, and then you can express that through your vote. So the second thing that we're going to talk about, Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve. Now this guy, he's the one with the money printer. He's the one that's saying, hey, you know what? Interest rates are low. Let's get some checks out. Let's get some, stimulus packages out. Let's make some things happen. Let's get the economy back where it's at. There was a lot of things that he had to say, but he did say, business and manufacturing are picking up. He did say that stimulus payments were good, that they would help keep the economy up. But he did on the other side say that, look, we've lost literally millions of jobs, in terms of what's happened with this pandemic, that the hardest hit sectors were the service sectors. And then even in that were the blacks and the Latinos. And so he did say, they do have an improved outlook for later this year, that vaccines are going to help the economy get to where it needs to be at. But he said you can't basically have that without, giving some help out and some relief to some people. So he said that, they want inflation to be around 2%, but they're going to maintain keeping interest rates low between 0 and 0.25%. This is good because this just gives them, the people who are trying to pass the stimulus package, more leverage in saying, hey, you know what? Historical low rates, let's get something passed. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2 trillion. We need to do this because the rates are so low and people need help, and we need to get the economy back to where it was. But if you think about it, over this time, 9 million people have lost their jobs because of this pandemic. That's a lot of hurting people, a lot of hurting families, a lot of people that have gone on unemployment that have never been on unemployment before. So he came out, he's in support for stimulus, he's in support for, bringing out the stimulus package, whatever it may be. He's saying, look, we just got to get the economy back to where it was. So that's in a nutshell basically what Jerome Powell said. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is this thing about this clean revolution. So you've got people out there saying like Biden's banning drilling and he's killing tens of thousands of jobs. So what I want to do is bring the facts to you. So one of the things that he has done is that he is taking an aggressive approach towards climate change. No one can argue that. But when it comes to in terms of like what he's actually doing, he didn't just go and say, hey, I'm banning any drilling or fracking on, federal and lands and waters. No, he literally said, look, for the next year, we won't allow any new leases for fracking or banning on federal lands and waters. And there's already contracts in place, and those are going to carry out. And so until they expire, but you got to think about it. What are those people going to do whenever the leases expire? And so this is something that, it's a lot to think about because you're talking about people's livelihoods, things that they've been doing for a long time. But when I want to bring some really good information to you, when you look at the entire market share of drilling and fracking and what the federal lands offer, it only equates to about 9%. So he's not talking about taking out 90%. He's saying 9% is what we're going to do away with because he's trying to get the federal first because that's what he actually has the authority to do through the executive orders of stopping any new leases from happening. He's not just stopping fracking now. He's saying no more new leases for the future. So to give you some clarity on that, but at the same time, when you think about he halted the permits and he's reversed the approval over the Keystone XL pipeline. And a lot of people are saying, that's tens of thousands of jobs. And right now the number is between 11 and 12,000. But one of the things that they're not saying is that those are temporary jobs. These are jobs that, they're still going to affect unemployment. They're still going to affect people's lives. And it's still something to consider. So I hope that they make provisions for those that are doing these jobs, that they can help them out or help them get to a different, trade or something. But, it is something that, the numbers are getting skewed. But it is around 11,000. It is temporary jobs. And so it's something that, they've been trying. This has literally been going on for years and years of starting it, stopping it, starting it, stopping it. And this is something that, will it ever get done? We don't know. But we do know that Biden is trying to take America as green as possible. And when he says, when he has Gina McCarthy, who says that Biden is going to take more measures to tackle climate change, and then you got John Kerry, who says that climate change is existential and that failure is not an option on climate change, it's going to be moving forward that we're going to be seeing more of these types of things come out in terms of his administration pushing for people to live more green, for things to be more green. He even talked about changing all the fleet of the federal vehicles. I think there's like, it said 665,000 vehicles, all electric, all with zero net emissions. And so that's huge. I mean, you're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars, but this guy literally says we're going to go green, and that's how it's going to be. You know, he even said that by taking away and stopping any new leases, that they're going to be conserving at least 30% of the federal land and the oceans by 2030, and then by, you know, stopping all these new leases. So the other thing that he's bringing out too is that in his agenda, they want to cut carbon emissions from the electricity sector by 2035 and then achieve net zero emissions by 2050. So there's I mean, you're talking about some big, bold moves, but you know, fossil fuels will eventually run out. So they're trying to go ahead and do something about it so that they can make sure that things are good for the future. So lots of things happening, but I want to keep you up to date. I just want to say, if you're still watching this video, I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me. I'm trying to grow this channel. We just passed 100 subscribers the other day, and I'm so thankful for that. But I want to continue to serve the YouTube community. I want to make sure that you have good, relevant information, not fake news. I want to make sure that you're getting the best information possible in the most, you know, quickest way. That's why I put the timestamps down in the description, so that if you want to jump to something and not listen to something else, you can do that, because we all know that time is so valuable. But I just want to say, if you like the video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel. We can keep growing it. I really appreciate all you in the community. This is Joel with True Life Investing. You have a great day. We'll see you next time.